Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Gordon Einstein. I'm a fast-talking American lawyer. Hey, George, good to see you. Very happy to be here. And I kind of dropped this comment in the chat. I'm going to do something different this time, not my normal presentation. I'm going to answer legal questions for free about DeFi, DAOs, security, and jurisdictions. I'm normally $2,000 an hour, but I will answer your questions now for free. Don't be shy if you're in Russian. We can get someone to translate it into English. And I'm just going to throw the floor open. And sir, actually, can someone, do we have a mic passer, do you think? Is that possible? Or stand up, say your name, if you don't mind, your project. And good to see you. Thank you. Good initiative.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Federico Spitaleri, co-founder of Satoshi's Games, Inc. And I just wanted to ask, how is mining regulated in Ukraine?
How is mining regulated in Ukraine? I don't know, ask a Ukrainian attorney. But I can give you the answer in the United States, which is you're not a money transmitter. It's generally deregulated. The issues you're going to run into with mining are more in the nature of the electricity usage, the business setup, the leasing of the equipment, and in case I didn't mention, energy consumption. And I would imagine that that's going to be the case in most locations. I'm not familiar with any special licensing requirement in the United States or in any other jurisdiction. That might be the case here. I think the challenge in Ukraine would be cheap supplies of energy. I think that I'm seeing a lot, ever since China banned their mining, I'm seeing a lot of movement to Kazakhstan and a lot of movement to Belarus. So I think those are the two, and actually a lot of movement to the United States. So the three places I'm seeing taking over, presuming you mean Bitcoin mining, since Ethereum mining is going away, maybe. I'm seeing Belarus, Kazakhstan, and the United States take it over a lot. So I don't know, maybe there's a Ukrainian attorney here who can talk specifically about the Ukrainian mining requirements. But good question, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause for the brave number one. And, can we pass the mic to this gentleman back there, please? Name, rank.
My name is Michael, thanks. I'm a CEO and co-founder of IT company doing blockchain solutions, AGAS. And you probably heard about some things about the Cream, the Anubis DAO, and about rug pools, and how everything goes from internal team, like withdrawing money, leftover, and all this stuff. So my question is pretty particular and straightforward. If I'm doing some projects in DAO or different DeFi systems, how I can be sure that someone not going to rug pool our project, and what is the good practices to avoid them?
So this is a little bit of a technical question, but I've seen enough of these that I think I can make some comments. The rug pulling tends to be due to administrative access to the smart contract that set up the liquidity pool or the AMM in the first place. I haven't seen too many rug pools where the original founders, original teams don't maintain some form of admin access. So there's a project I like a lot called WISE, W-I-S-E, WISE. They're doing a bond-like platform through DeFi, and they came up with a very simple initial contract. They had it audited. I don't know if anything is perfectly secure, but they're decently secure. And then they publish it without maintaining admin access to it. And then when they contributed their tokens to Uniswap, to the AMM, and they got the LP tokens back, they basically burnt those tokens. So they don't have any kind of superior access to the platform. So if you're looking to avoid a rug pull, that's different from a hack in the usual sense. I think you're talking about like what happened with like SushiSwap or Uniswap or whatever that thing was, where the guy ran away with 16 million that was meant for the developers. That's whenever you reserve something for the team, as opposed to having the team buy the tokens like everyone else, or whenever you maintain admin control over the smart contract, I think you're creating the possibility of a rug pull. And so I would just avoid that. Have your tokenomics very clear, have your contract totally solid, and just publish that. But obviously, you need to be very comfortable with what you're publishing. But good question, thank you.
Thanks.
Can we pass the microphone to the gentleman back there? Thank you. By the way, I'm a fast-talking American guy. Is it too fast? No.
No, it's fine.
Fine, go.
Hi, Gordon. My name is Yuri.
Hey, Yuri.
The case is following. So there is a physical business, and business owner wants to issue tokens and distribute profit shares to token holders. But they don't want to be considered as a security token. So what the approach, how better to do not to be considered as security tokens?
Okay, so great question. The moment you start distributing profits pro rata to your token holders, you're essentially giving out a dividend. It's almost impossible to give out a dividend without it being a security. That is like one of the things that just make it real clear it's a security. The general idea is, who's heard of the Howey test? No one? Yeah, Howey test? Okay, some people. So when you're trying to figure out whether or not your token is a security, there's two approaches. You take approach number one first, and then you take approach number two. Approach number one is, does it resemble a traditional security? Does it resemble a share of stock? Does it resemble a bond? Does it resemble a certificate deposit? If it looks like any one of those things, even if you don't call it like a share of stock, or even if you don't call it a bond, it's probably a security. Now suppose it's something exotic that doesn't fit into a traditional category but might be a security. How do you know? Well, under US law, and this is what the plan, this sort of scheme globally, you're trying to figure out whether or not something is an investment contract. That's like the bucket term for a security that doesn't fit into the regular category. Is it an investment contract? And there's 4 tests to see whether or not it's an investment contract. That's called the Howey test. It's based on a very famous case in the United States. But one of those tests is there an investment of money with an expectation of profit? It's very hard to distribute profit and not be a security. If you want maybe to get around that, you distribute earnings, not profits. Okay, and I'll say it again. If you distribute a share of gross receipts or gross earnings and not profits, there's a chance you can make it not a security. But the moment you make it a profit interest, you're heading to security. I'll give you an example. If you have a platform that charges a 1% fee for its operation, and that fee is automatically distributed, right? That fee is not necessarily a profit. The platform could be losing money. But if you're distributing a 1% fee, there's a chance it's not a security. But under your existing model, I say you need to look at your tokenomics, because you almost certainly are a security under every jurisdiction on the planet. But it's a great question, so thank you. Let's give a round of applause for the question. We'll go to this side. We're going to do Olympic mic passing. Actually, that lady at the back with her arm, she's being very strenuous. So can we give her the microphone? Or do you want to come up and yell? Either way? Oh, there's a good person. Sir, right back there to that lady right there. Please. Meet him halfway. Be nice. Go.
Sorry.
And sir, thank you for doing that.
Hi, my name is Maria. I have a question. What is the future of synthetic assets? That will be the first question, how it's going to be regulated, especially in the United States. And the second, how all DeFi products going to be regulated, all DeFi products built on DeFi protocols, especially in the US.
So this is probably worthy of a 25-volume book, those 2 questions you just asked me, but I'll try. So the first one is, how are and how will be synthetic assets regulated? And I would slice that 2 different ways. I want to distinguish between derivatives and synthetics. Right? And just let's get some vocabulary straight. A derivative is a financial instrument or other instrument that derives its value from some underlying asset. Okay? So if you have a index fund, for example, that trades based on a collection of stocks and goes up and down based on their value, that's a derivative. Right? Let me distinguish that from something like Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin is not a derivative. Bitcoin doesn't reference anything else. Bitcoin is traded as Bitcoin. Right? So that's how you kind of look at a derivative. Synthetic is, I'd say, it's an artificial construct or grouping of financial characteristics that don't necessarily, it's maybe a form of derivative, but I would say it's a more complex amalgamation of these characteristics. The general idea is, same thing as I said before, if someone is buying into one of these synthetics or derivatives with an expectation, well, actually, let me take a big step back. Let me back up. If you have a derivative based on a pure commodity, like gold, like silver, like Bitcoin, and it's just referencing that or a collection of that, that by itself will almost certainly be regulated as a commodity and not as a security. When you have a synthetic or a derivative that's based on some underlying business operation where there's profits involved and you're not merely trading back and forth in base commodities, almost certainly they'll be regulated as a security. So here's a legal concept I want to share. Almost everything on the planet is a commodity. Okay, apples are commodities, Bitcoin's commodities. Even shares of stock are a commodity, but they're a very special kind of commodity called a security. And because they're that special kind of security, they get regulated as securities. So if you're trying to understand how synthetics are going to be regulated, you look at what they're based on. Are they based on some underlying business operation, or are they based on a collection of non-profitable commodities that go up and down based on their market value? And based on whether it's commodity or security, that's how it will be regulated. And Miss, what was the second question? DeFi regulation in general? So here's the tricky thing about DeFi. Almost by definition, I mean, think about the word, decentralized finance. Almost by definition, each one of these tools, if they were not being done in a decentralized manner, would be subject to regulation, either as a security or as a bank or as a money transmitter or something like that. So the question is, do these DeFi protocols escape regulation, or are they subject to a different kind of regulation because they're decentralized? Is what I just said clear? The question is whether or not by making something DeFi, you escape the regular regulation that would apply if it was the centralized version of it. So for example, if you make a security that's decentralized, does it stop being regulated as a security? The answer is, we don't know, but maybe. Okay, why maybe? Why would something that would normally be a security suddenly not be a security if it's being put out on a decentralized platform? Well, the concept of a security, unlike the concept of a commodity, involves the idea of an issuer. Okay, a company issues stock. A company issues bonds. It's very hard to imagine a security where no one is issuing the security. What if a smart contract is issuing a security and the people who publish the smart contract are gone, and that smart contract just exists on the blockchain and anyone can use it? You can't sue a smart contract. You can't arrest a smart contract. You can't tax a smart contract. So it's possible, this has not been tested yet, but it's possible that when you have a decentralized platform, when you have DeFi, that you can get away with doing things that you would normally be regulated if you were doing it, but you're not regulated because it's decentralized, because there's no one actually doing the issuing of the financial instrument. It's just math. It's just an algorithm. How do you sue an algorithm? Okay, how do you sue Bitcoin? Right? So the trick here is, of course, nothing on DeFi and nothing in a DAO just appears from nothing. There's always people writing these smart contracts. There's always people designing the tokenomics. There's always people, at least in the beginning, running a centralized platform that gets more decentralized over time. The question is, when does it become decentralized enough that the original promoters of the project are no longer responsible for what happens? Right? Because then maybe it doesn't get regulated at all. There's nothing to regulate anymore. But so long as the original people who started the process or started the platform are still closely tied to it, maybe it can be regulated. Again, using the example of Wise, and that's maybe an edge case, or using the example of Bitcoin, it doesn't matter if Bitcoin's a security, not a security, commodity, blah, blah, blah. Even if Satoshi showed up tomorrow, you can't arrest Satoshi and stop Bitcoin. Okay, it's gone beyond its creator. So I think what we're going to end up seeing is if these platforms get truly decentralized, the regulators are going to try to regulate them, be unable to do so, and they're going to do what they're trying to do now, which is to control the on-ramps in and out of these platforms. Okay, just like they're trying to regulate banks and credit card companies to control the flow in and out of crypto, because it's very hard to regulate Bitcoin itself. So hopefully that answered the question. And can we pass the microphone to the gentleman back there? Or you're just come up so I can hear you, and then I'll repeat the question. Don't be shy. And say your name. Big round of applause. Hi, I'll give you a fist bump. Alex, please.
Can you tell us something about security tokens and how they could evolve and resolve some kind of regulated issues?
So the question is, if I understood the question, say something about security tokens and how they're going to evolve over time. So it's a good question. I think that the initial breakthrough, which wasn't much of a breakthrough, is taking traditional securities and merely representing them on the blockchain. Right now, securities, it's been a long time. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember when securities like shares of stock were represented by pieces of paper. Okay, I'm old enough to actually remember that. And then, you used to get a stock certificate, you used to get a bond, you used to physically clip coupons. My grandmother had bonds where she would clip coupons, literally, send them in and get money from the company that issued them. Then, of course, we got rid of the physical certificates, and the evidence of you owning a security was basically with the registrar or registry of the company. So securities have not been physical for a long time. It is very easy, and it's already happening, to imagine that traditional securities simply have their transfers back and forth between parties located on the blockchain rather than in the traditional database. And of course, that makes life easier and more efficient, because when you're transferring securities back and forth, you don't have to reconcile or clear those transactions anymore. If it's on the blockchain, it's just simply there. You can see the transaction and everyone knows it happened. That's sort of securities on the blockchain 101, the very easy version. The next version, which is what we're heading into right now, is when you have non-traditional companies, when you have DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, or DACs, decentralized autonomous companies that exist just on the blockchain and issue interests in their operations to different people, and then we try to figure out whether these interests that are being issued are securities. It's my personal opinion, though it's a little bit futuristic, that traditional company forms, like an LLC, like a corporation, like a GmbH, are going to disappear, and eventually, at some point, every form of corporate organization will exist on the blockchain, and when it issues an economic interest in its platform, that'll be a security, and either the regulators are going to regulate those interests in a traditional way, or they're building controls, regulatory controls onto the blockchain itself. So it's going to be an interesting period of evolution. Things are very much in flux. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Wyoming passed a DAO law. You can now legally form a DAO in the United States in Wyoming. I think Belarus is probably heading in that direction. Malta was heading in that direction, but I think they stalled out a little bit, but I think maybe they'll pick it back up. So great question. Next. Microphone, please. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. The name and...
Hi, thank you for the Q&A. My name's Alex, and I'm an analyst and writer for the crypto space. And my question is, what would you look forward to in terms of regulations from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and other maybe regulators that will have a big effect on the crypto space and DeFi, maybe next year, maybe in short term or in long term? Thanks.
So it sounds kind of funny. I would like, so, outside the United States, you say SEC. Inside the United States, just, we always say SEC. So it always throws people off. So the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, to be honest, has done a very, very poor job in the United States in providing guidance on how to issue crypto, or what's a security or what's not a security. They've made lots of scary noises. They've intimidated people into leaving for Dubai and for Ukraine and for everywhere else. They've issued reports. It's not been good. I am a little bit more optimistic now because other countries in the world, including Ukraine, God bless it, are being very proactive with their regulation and very, not perfectly clear, but much more clear than the United States. And there's so much wealth and opportunity being generated by crypto and blockchain that I'm seeing pressure being brought against US regulators, and they're at least having to pretend to have an open mind. I would like them to actually have an open mind to this. Now, the general consensus around the world is that, you know, it's like from Game of Thrones. Who watched Game of Thrones? Okay, you know winter is coming, right? Okay, well, regulation is coming, and it's going to be a dark winter. You know, there's also I don't know if you guys also, you know, remember Littlefinger? Yeah, chaos is a ladder. So I'd say crypto chaos is a ladder. Just think about that one too. But regulation is coming for sure. The question will be, regulation isn't good or bad by itself. It's only good or bad if you have good goals and you accomplish those goals well, or if you have bad goals or don't accomplish those goals well. I am not against regulation per se. I think regulation can actually help a lot when it comes to crypto. It can get institutions involved. It can get retail investors involved. It can do a lot of good. I just haven't seen the United States head strongly in that direction. We're beginning to see it in Europe. We're seeing it obviously in places like Estonia and Ukraine. Dubai is doing great, but we're not really going to see a global regulatory regime for crypto and for securities, which is a challenge because blockchains are global. They're worldwide, like the internet is. And to have this patchwork of regulations slows things down. So I think the general trend is that people, when they set up these companies, when they set up these DeFi platforms, are going to form the company in a friendly jurisdiction like Dubai, like Ukraine, maybe sometimes Belarus, other places, launch it, decentralize it, and then disappear because they don't need to run it anymore, because it will be decentralized and a DAO or foundation or other organization will take over management of that platform. So hopefully that answered the question. Thank you. Next question. Can we pass the microphone to this gentleman? Or can you just scream at the top of your lungs? There you go. Okay. Time was? Yeah.
Hi, one more time. My name is Alexei. I'm key account manager.
Just a question. How many? Raise your hand if your name is Alex.
There's two names, I think, Alexei and Alexander. Both we say Alex.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm account manager from Fiat Crypto Gateway ITs. And as you start about the regulation, let's speak about the actual crypto license. So if we want to provide our services worldwide, which jurisdictions you will recommend? And in the case of United States, which state you will recommend to cover worldwide to easily work with all the banks and acquirers easily?
And what is your exact service?
Fiat to crypto gateway, so we help buy crypto with the bank card.
Okay, so that you got a tough question. I think you're going to have to establish multiple companies.
Yes. So top 3, top 5
I think
to cover everything.
In Europe, you're going to probably set up in Estonia.
Okay.
Probably. Look, nothing's perfect. You're not going to get a perfect answer. I'm sorry. For that one, you're not going to get a perfect answer because everything's changing all the time. And I know Estonia has its ups and downs, but you're not going to go to Belarus. Okay, it's under sort of a little bit of an embargo if you're trying to work with the EU. Sorry, right? That's the way it is. If you're establishing in the United States, you're maybe going to set up 2 companies. A very friendly money transmitter jurisdiction in the United States is Montana. They actually don't have money transmitter law. You probably do not want to be in New York because of their stupid bit license, which is basically the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And if you're looking to get investors or be regulated in a way that people appreciate, you probably want to set up an entity in Delaware also. Delaware's, just so people know, there's no such thing as a United States company. It doesn't exist. Okay, there's a Nevada corporation, there's a California corporation, there's a New York corporation. Every state has its own company law. I actually find that fantastically obnoxious. You know, it's like every province in Ukraine having its own different company law. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but it troubles me in the United States that we have this continental size market, but we fractured it into 50 little micro jurisdictions unnecessarily, in my opinion. It's maybe made sense back in 1776, but it doesn't make sense in 2021. The idea that you have to create a company in California and then qualify it in Nevada and then qualify it everywhere else you're doing business doesn't really work. But that's my preface for saying that the general place for setting up a company where you're going to seek outside investment and become a large regulated entity, banking or otherwise, typically is Delaware. Okay, if you're doing money transmitting, the funny thing is money transmitting is not federal law, it's state law. You're really going to have to set up in almost every state or qualify in every state. Coinbase is a money transmitter in every state in the United States. It's not going to be easy. And then if you're in Asia, that's tough. You know, Binance is getting chased around the block, and I know you're not Binance, but they kind of had to leave everywhere. I can kind of hopefully say Singapore, but you know, that's a $200,000 question. But
Thank you for the answer.
but these are the places to start. Can we pass the microphone to that lady in the red, please?
Thanks. Hello, everyone. It's like Chris de Burgh, lady in red. Yeah. So, Gordon, could you please tell us what is the difference in international taxation in terms of proceeds received from Bitcoin and other proceeds? You've just mentioned Delaware corporations. So what would be the taxation regime internationally?
For Bitcoin or for crypto in general?
For Bitcoin or for crypto.
Well, I'll tell you the general idea. I'll start in the United States. The general idea is that Bitcoin is a form of property, like every other kind of property. It's not special because it's digital. You own your Bitcoin, and if you buy your Bitcoin and you sell it within 1 year, you pay what's called personal income tax on that Bitcoin. And personal income tax is in the United States, it's a progressive rate. It starts at a pretty low rate, like 15% for the first 10,000 or whatever. Then there's another bracket where the next $20,000 you earn is at another percentage, blah, 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 and then you get up to something like 35%. I don't actually have it memorized. So if you hold it for less than a year, you're going to be taxed at your personal income rate on the Bitcoin. If you hold it for more than 1 year, you get something called capital gains treatment, okay, which is a flat rate no matter what your personal income is, and it's usually a lower rate because there's a bias in US and most other jurisdictions towards capital gains and against personal income. It's kind of a bad thing to some people because you're punishing people who earn money and you're rewarding people who invest money. But I don't know, you can have all kinds of philosophical discussions about whether that's a good idea. But the general idea is you want to hold your Bitcoin, you want to hold your crypto for at least 1 year so that you get capital gains treatment, which is the lower rate of tax applied to your crypto. Now, if you're a US person, this is only for US people, which I think I'm the only one in the room. No matter where you are in the world, I can be an American citizen and never put my foot in the United States. But if I'm a US citizen, I owe tax on everything I earn in the entire planet.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, and the land of the free. So the only place an American can go to lower their taxes in this meaningful way is Puerto Rico. Okay, luckily you all don't have to deal with this. But I'm not sure about Ukraine's tax regime, but the general idea is that if you have a lot of crypto and you want to liquidate it, you want to move to a jurisdiction that does not have personal income tax and does not have capital gains. Dubai is an example of that. Okay, so I got lots and lots of clients coming from ex-Soviet Union space who are moving to Dubai, okay, and then selling their crypto, and the home countries don't even really know or care about it. And then you can buy your property and put it in the banking system, and it's, obviously you don't do it from illegal sources, but if you're trying to liquidate your crypto, that's a good place to do it. But you probably need to get physically out of your home country to sell it, to properly and legally avoid the payment of taxes on your crypto.
Thanks.
Sure. Let me go to this side. Anyone? Can we do a marathon run to this gentleman? Thank you. Check out the matching jackets on these people. Cool.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Yuri Shailov. I'm attorney at law. So my question is in regards of NFT, actually.
Yes.
So if someone is using someone's picture, some celebrity, for example, or piece of art or something like that, creating, does that person break any rules, actually, any laws at the end, even slightly changing or changing a lot of that particular piece of art or photo?
Okay, so great question. The question was, when you have NFTs that incorporate, hey, Kirill, it's my buddy. When you have NFTs that incorporate some art or the image of someone, does that cause, I'll change the question a little bit, does that cause intellectual property issues? So when you have creative work, whether it's art or writing or photograph or anything like that, the general idea is that the person who creates that art in the first place has certain property rights to that art. If I write a book, not everyone can copy that book without paying me royalties. They have to license the ability to use that book. Or if I have music, the general idea is that people can't replay it for free, or radio can't, for example. You have to pay licensing fees. If I take a picture of a famous person, suppose we had Donald Trump here, wait, Kirill. Okay, so suppose this is Donald Trump, and he's famous, and I take his picture. Trump, yes? Cool. And I make an NFT out of that picture. There's a couple layers to what's going on. That person, that individual, has a right to the commercial use of their own likeness, right? You cannot, if it's a news story, you can use their photograph, but you can't take a photo of them and market it as like the Evander Holyfield photo without paying Evander Holyfield some money for the use of his image in a commercial sense. So you are potentially violating a commercial or transactional rule there. Also, the person who takes a photograph of someone has an intellectual property right, has a copyright right in that photograph. So all these NFTs that are basically stealing other people's intellectual property and making money off of it, they are breaking the law, and they are opening themselves up to lawsuits and maybe worse. The question is, on a practical level, will anything happen to these people? And the answer is, I don't know. Okay, it hasn't really happened yet, and these NFTs and these publications are moving so fast. There's a question, it's like a lot of stuff in crypto. It's like, can you get away with it long enough to get rich and disappear? It sounds funny for an attorney to say that, but just from a practical level, it's hard to know whether or not you're going to get in trouble for doing it. But I think that a better play is to get something officially licensed or officially allowed by the celebrity or by the owner of the intellectual property, work with them, and then you can sell your NFT much more broadly. So even if you can get away with, quote unquote, stealing the intellectual property, it's probably a better idea not to. Make a deal and then have the people who created the art in the first place work with you to promote the NFT. So, how are we doing?
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
I'm going to do one more question because time is out. So, $2,000 an hour, last question for free, guy in the back. But he needs a microphone. Can we do it? Microphone? Or come up and yell. And big round of applause for the gentleman passing around the microphone. What, that's it? Big round of applause. That guy back there. He's been doing great. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Liam. I work in crypto marketing, helping shitcoins launch. And my question is about, so right now there's a few projects with anonymous teams, anon devs, like Thorchain, for example. They've got anonymous team and anonymous node operators. So with those teams, what do you think the regulators might do to control them in some way? Or is this our path to freedom? Just everyone be anonymous in DeFi protocols?
I think being anonymous is a young man and young woman's game. I think when you start having a family and a house and tuition payments and parents you're taking care of, it's a lot harder to stay anonymous because you have to show your source of funds, and you're not quite as Airbnb as, you don't have the Airbnb life anymore. So if you're, sure, the regulators want to go after them, but sure, if you're earning money by working on a project, and you're in a jurisdiction that taxes personal income and you're getting paid in crypto, you should pay tax on that money. But are you in real life going to get caught or real life have an issue? I don't know. A lot of people are making a lot of money. A lot of them are moving fast. Do I encourage this? Not necessarily. But yes, part of the reason why crypto is so attractive is that the existing rules are so complex and so onerous and so over the top and so biased that people are motivated to find alternative ways to make money and live their lives. You know, I went back into law after not practicing law because I saw a chance to make law better because of crypto, because the way it works right now is not good. Right? And it's like the rule I said before. This rule about American citizens being taxed on your global income. We're like the only other country, I think the only other country that does this is like Eritrea or something. Right? It is a ridiculous rule. And yes, you should follow the law, but realistically, when you have a ridiculous rule like that, you're going to motivate a whole bunch of people to not follow the rules. So I really hope that the pressure that crypto and blockchain applies is going to make the governments become more reasonable what they're doing and reform themselves. I'll give an example. All these governments are issuing huge amounts of currency right now because otherwise we would just have a crash. There's so much debt out there and so many obligations. There's so many pension requirements that the United States and everywhere else is just printing huge money. Do you guys know do you know the meme of money printing machine goes brrr? Yeah? Okay, believe me, that meme is all around the world. Now, it's funny, the exact moment that the money printer is going brrr is the exact moment that, and I don't think it's a coincidence, that crypto is putting pressure on national authorities to not go brrr. Because the more they do that, the more they're making crypto look extremely good. So to kind of give a long-winded answer to your question, yes, it's a path to freedom. I don't know if it's a complete path to freedom, but I like the pressure that it puts on governments to be better so that they can keep people in the system, because if they make it too rough and there's alternatives available, we're all going to run to freedom. We're all going to do it. So anyways, thank you very much. I appreciate it.